All right. Now we welcome on American record holder in the marathon, Keira D'Amato. You're shaking your head. You said on Instagram you haven't found the words quite yet to process this. You just went on to Today's Show. You process it a little bit there, but I'm guessing this is still fresh. I mean, but that introduction and that is going before your name from now on. Like, how does that feel?
It's just, I can't wrap my head around it. It's just so, I don't know. It's so like beautiful and exciting and surprising and just, I don't know. I still haven't found the words. This is just going to be one big like mumble of words. This podcast, I apologize in advance.
No, I love it because we're processing the feelings in real time. But for the people who have been listening to you, the appearance you've had on this show back in November 2020, and then you just did Dana's podcast a couple weeks back, and in that one, that's where sort of you announced that you were doing the Houston Marathon, and you weren't afraid to say that, hey, I feel like I'm fitter than I was, before the marathon project. And who knows what that could mean. And in explaining sort of like how you've worked with training in the past before these major races that you've done, it's that you don't lock in sort of until, what your pace is going to be for that race until like maybe the week of or week or two beforehand. So Dina Castor's American record, when did that sort of fall into the cards and into your mind as something that might be possible for you?
Um, yeah, I don't know. It was about 3 weeks before the marathon, and I just smashed like a tempo run. And that's when I thought, holy cow, like this could happen for me. So that was like the moment when I thought, I think I'm in shape to do it. And then workouts just kept progressing. And then on the starting line, like I thought, I really believed, like I didn't know if it was gonna happen on Sunday, but I believed that I was capable of running that pace. And on the starting line, I'm like, this is going to happen today, or it's not going to happen today, and I'm okay. Let's see what happens. So, yeah.
That sense of belief, just kind of over the past couple years that you've had for yourself. I mean, from the very first marathon, then to believing that you had a shot, to qualify for the marathon trials. And then from there, doing your best at the marathon trials. And it's sort of like, are you just kind of like stacking just sort of like self-confidence points like on top of each other? How does it work sort of into building that mindset of being able to believe in yourself to do something of this magnitude?
Yeah, I'm a pretty confident person, but I definitely was not born with the confidence to think that I could set an American record in anything. So it's definitely come like just a step at a time. And every time I hit like that goal, that gave me confidence that, okay, what else can I do? Like, what's next? Like, what if? So it's like I kept stacking it and just kept climbing up the mountain in a way that finally I got here. But yeah, I think I just, yeah, I have no idea. Like in the weeks leading up to the race, like even seeing those workouts where like I knew my body was in shape to run 2:19 or possibly faster. But when I would step back and think like, what does that mean? Well, that would mean I'd run faster than any American woman ever. That I could never wrap my head around. And I'm like, I asked my husband, I'm like, how am I supposed to, how, like why do I think I can be that person? He's like, yeah, let's not think that way. Just think about what you think you can do physically. What do you think you can do? I'm like, well, I think I can run the time. And he goes, okay, let's just focus on that. So when I step back and look at it on a big page, I can't process that at all.
It's sort of, you did have to sort of like let go of whatever's happened in the past and that people have done, because I guess like that's the big question that some people are still kind of scratching their heads about, is like this American record has, withstood the test of time against, the likes of Kara Goucher and Shalene Flanagan and Des Linden. And so it really, the question so many people have is like, why did it take you to get it done? And so, I mean, do you have much of an answer for that? I mean, part of it, like in sort of, and this is, me and Kyle Merber trading text messages about sort of, how did this happen? It was like, I mean, after a while, so many of these top end US marathoners shifted their focus to, the world majors. And it's like, the appearance fee is great. The prize money is awesome. And for you, I guess, like, even so, like, taking a step back sometimes and just not focusing on, the financial sides of the sport and just trying to get the best out of yourself. You weren't in the elite field for Boston or anything like that. And so people were just like, where is she? And she's running Houston just for the chance to run fast. And so you kind of like saw, just with that flexibility, I think, that you've had as a professional runner, but also like you're not you're a professional runner, but in the sense that you don't operate like the typical professional runner.
Yeah, I think everything you just said is spot on. And I definitely don't have the answer to that question. But I think, like what you said, that I do things a lot differently than I think every other person that I've competed against in that list of names. I do things differently. I think that, could it be that I took some, like, that women peak endurance wise in their 30s, right? But I didn't put a decade of professional running on my legs. I took, I was sitting on the couch just cheering for everyone for a decade. So maybe that, like, really helped just bring freshness to my legs and to my mind and just to the sport for me. Having kids, I don't know if there's like a science behind that, but just my perspective with the sport changed, like, I don't really feel that pressure because in, like, my family, I'm just so concerned about just the well-being, health, and happiness of my family, that is so important, that takes all sorts of pressure off running. And like you just said, like, coming into running, this isn't financial for me. It's to see how fast I can run. Like, when I think, like, why am I doing this? I am trying to find my limit. I'm testing my potential. I'm trying to find that answer to, like, the what if, like, what if I do everything right? Like, what could become? So I think that's all that, like, my coach and I care about. And, so that gives us the flexibility to not, fold into your typical professional running schedule, and to race when we're fit. And that's not one of the world marathon majors. I mean, the Chevron Houston Marathon is a heck of a race, a gold label race. It feels like a world marathon major, but just being able to find that right race at the right time and, like, the right course on the right day, gives us a lot of flexibility. And then I think my training's a little bit different too. In this buildup, I wasn't crushing, like, all the high miles at altitude. Like, I am a little bit older and I was coming off an injury, so my mileage was a little bit lower. So what we lacked in volume, we made up in intensity in the workouts. And, we train for a marathon, but we focus on speed work a lot too. So working so hard to get my top end speed as fast as possible. So running 5:18, I can hopefully feel kind of relaxed running 5:18. I think that's a big part of the puzzle too. So I don't know. I think if just me being that person to set the record tells you anything, is that there's not one path, there's not one right way. My way may not work for everyone, and I'm sure Dina and Joni did it their way that worked for them. But I think it's just beautiful that running, you can find what works, what's fun, what just feels right for you, and just take that path.
David Melly just wrote the piece for CITIUS Mag's website about just sort of carving out the space and embracing just sort of a lot more of that untraditional way of going about things for professional runners, where, Marty Hare, was in school when he ran 2:08:58, and Sarah Vaughn is in a very similar boat as you, with working the full-time job as a realtor and being a mom, and going off and running, the fifth fastest, debut time by an American woman. You put it up on your Instagram story that you read David's piece while, at the airport getting your luggage, and it brought you to tears. What about it really struck you?
I was reading it, waiting for my bags, and I was on a bench and I was reading it, and I was just like, it wasn't like my eyes were tearing up, like I was bawling. Like, there was someone on the bench next to me that, like, looked over and then, like, walked away, because it was like, this woman is going through something right now. but his piece was so beautiful to me because I just feel like he saw me and he saw like what I represent. And I'm not like the most well-spoken person, and I'm not one for like words. I'm not a very good writer, but I just feel like what I felt in my heart, he put there on the paper, that there's not one path. Like you can be open to other possibilities, and everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses and their own hurdles in life and their own restraints and their own ways to like flourish. And I just think it's so beautiful that he was able just to share that, you know, we can start thinking outside the box and doing it our way and making sure that we're having fun and find a way that, you know, running can fit into your life. And it just, oh man, it was such a beautiful piece. I was really like just really just taken by that.
It is one of the things that you emphasize even on the Today Show when they asked you about it, is just that aspect of having fun with it. And this goes back to, you know, the milkshake rewards that you would give yourself after running, you know, 10 miles a day. In particular, this sort of training block, what was really fun about it for you?
I think that just the whole like team D'Amato, like at this point, I feel like there was like really high stakes. And to see like everyone, Team D'Amato and my parents, my family, my community, and like Richmond as a whole, for everyone to feel like they had skin in the game and to get involved, that was so like encouraging. Um, and then also just like my family life, it didn't really change. We kept doing our still like the wacky family challenges. You know, my husband's as like, you know, as big of a knucklehead as ever, and he just keeps life so fun and so fresh and so interesting, while like, you know, while I'm going out for 3-hour runs and he's holding down the fort and everything. So yeah, I just think, I don't know, man, but it's just, and it's also like it's fun to win, you know, like, and I didn't think I'd ever really care about winning like that, but it like it's been really fun. Yeah.
I think you need to, you know, find a graphic designer out there who can create like a Team D'Amato logo, because it's not just your family. I think like you said, it's just so many people belong to this team that supports you that, you know, a couple t-shirts, some sweaters. I think you've got like a nice little team logo to come up with.
That would be cool. And like I can't even tell you how special it is. Like I'm running down the streets of Richmond, and like I'll be going by someone walking their dog and they're like, Keira, you got this, way to make Richmond proud. Like that is such a powerful thing, you know, just to feel like I don't feel like pressure from that. Like I just feel so much support and so much love. And like, you know, they don't know my goal to set the American record. Like they just see me like working my tail off, like day in and day out down like just the mean streets of Richmond, you know, and like that's what they're like rooting for. And that just feels really good.
So in addition to just the Richmond community, I think you also speak to just like there's two other communities that I have top of mind right here that it's the moms, I think, that are out there. And I think the Today Show audience, like for sure, you know, I think my mom watches the Today Show, and so like, what do you hope that they kind of get out of? I know it was maybe like 5 minutes or so, but your just appearance on there, you know, maybe they aren't full-time runners or anything like that, but they get out for exercise and they want to, you know, push themselves, you know, whether it's on the Peloton or so. What do you hope that they get out of just hearing that 5-minute segment of your story?
Yeah, like I think the thing that I'm like most proud of is that like I had the courage to like try again. You know, I had the courage to to see like what if. And I just know, I mean, for a decade of my life, I sat there just as a fan of running, like watching the Olympic trials or the Olympics or just the Boston Marathon or New York Marathon or whatever it was. And just as a fan, but I'd always have that little like, what if, you know? And I know everyone has that little what if, and not necessarily in running. It could be whatever it is, but like just having the courage to find out what if, I think that that's something that like really resonates. Um, and then I just think as a parent too, like it's chaotic, you know, and your life for the most part revolves around like the most beautiful thing in your life, your children, right? And but it's hard sometimes to find that like sliver of time for yourself. It's hard to prioritize that when you just it just there's a lot of guilt around that. So I hope that I've allowed people maybe to feel less guilty to go out to pursue something that makes them happy. Like, I think it's okay to have that, it definitely, there obviously needs to be balance, but hopefully if people can take something away, it's okay. Because I think for me with running, like, it makes me a better person. Like, I'm more confident, I'm more happy. And like that confident, happy person, I think can be a better mother,
Mhm.
So I guess that's it.
The other population is the 245 to 238 crowd that qualified for the Olympic trials. And the podcast episode you did with Dana, you talked about how you had very mixed feelings. You could see both arguments for the changing of the Olympic trials qualifier. But without it, you like, if you, it was 237 back when you had started marathoning, you didn't know if you would have been able to go for it or been motivated to go for it. I think right now, just seeing just sort of not only just you breaking through, to qualify for the trials and finishing so high, and now setting the American record. What do you think that speaks to that crowd who like maybe was feeling a little bummed out at first about seeing how hard it's going to be, but now I guess like you just instilled a whole nother sense of belief in them, I think.
Yeah, and I think for, like when I heard that got pushed down from 245 to 237, I felt exactly what I'm sure a lot of people felt. Like, just it felt like a gut punch, like, and I hope I'd be sitting here today if that standard was 237, but I don't know if I would have had the confidence, with the carrot being that much further away, to keep going for it. So like, I just hope that people see the improvement I made. Like, the marathon is like it's a long game, right? It takes time, and it takes, like, if you look at my PR path, like, I've just slowly broken it down, and I keep breaking it down. And after years and years and years, I got here. So I hope that people have the patience to be able to work it down and still aim for that 245, go for that 245. And then when you get there, think, okay, what's next? Like, okay, 241, or let's break 240. And then when you get there, then think what's next. But to be patient and to be kind with yourself. And then also, like, I don't know, anything's possible, like, there's no ceiling here. Like, there's yeah, the sky's the limit, man.
So now let's get into actual Sunday. The morning you wake up, is it sort of your first thing you tell yourself is let's do this, and or take us through, from what you ate in the morning all the way to getting to the starting line?
Yeah, I got up and I thought, legs are feeling good. I woke up and everything was feeling good, and like, that doesn't always happen with a marathon, like, just the training itself is so rigorous that just being able to stand on the starting line healthy is a victory within itself. And I got up, I'm like, wow, I couldn't have asked to feel any better. Like, I feel really lucky. This is great. And in a way, like, feeling good puts a whole new pressure, because it's like, well, no excuses, no excuses, Keira. You feel good, like, you made it here. And got up, got dressed, went down to breakfast. I had coffee and some oatmeal and like a little, like, fuel, like a sports drink or whatever, to like just start preloading it. And started then chugging the Morton, drink and everything, just trying to get as many electrolytes in the morning. And I was feeling like eerily relaxed, like definitely nervous, but just wanting to get to the starting line. And I don't know, rode the bus over and definitely like feeling the nerves and the jitters, but like, I was feeling good. And then I go to warm up and it's like super cold and super windy. And I'm like, and I wasn't one to like really check the weather. Like, people were checking it for me and telling me. And I brought everything for it to be like, a 10-degree day to like an 80-degree day in my suitcase. So whatever it ended up being, like, it would be. But I was just, like, I knew I was fit enough that it didn't have to be perfect. Like, it just needed to be good enough. So I woke up, and when I like, felt that it was cold and a little windy, I'm like, okay, this is good. Like, I've trained through this. I've trained through wind. I've trained through cold. Like, this is good enough. Yeah. So I did my little warm up, and I'm standing on the starting line, and I'm just thinking, like, it's either going to happen or it's not. Let's see, and I, through like coming up short with so many goals in my life, the fact that I'm 37, like, I've had wins, but I've had far more losses in my life. And like, I'm okay with losing, you know, like it sucks and it hurts. And like, it like starts a fire under like my butt, I guess, or whatever you say. What's the phrase? It starts a fire under me,
Yeah.
like nothing else. You know, I hate losing, but you know, I pick myself up, I make myself stronger, and I come back out. So like standing on the starting line, being like, is this going to happen or it's not? And like, I'm going to be okay and I'm going to be happy, you know, whichever way. And but I did know I was going to give it my all, you know, like I was going to leave everything out on the course that day. And I got a lot of strength from having my two pacers, Callum Neff and Silas France, with me. And they are both like such smooth, like zen like runners. Like I can be kind of like an anxious, fidgety person, I guess. And they both are like, just like really like relaxing people. So just having them by my side just brought me like a lot of confidence too. And just knowing that I trusted their ability, especially Callum, because he's run that course like so many times. He lives just right outside of Houston. Like he said, he knows every single pebble along the way. So, you know, and he's talking tangents, and like, I'm, as a math major, I just love that. Like, talk tangents to me. That's awesome. But you know, so I just, when the gun went off, like, actually, this is a really cool moment. The gun went off, and I'm like, I think I'm like decently quick off the line for a marathoner. Like, put me in 100-meter, I'm gonna look like I'm like sitting there reading a book. But for a marathon, I feel like I'm pretty quick off the line. So I got out pretty good. And Sarah Hall runs by me, and like, and so she came up and she's like, Keira, go crush it. I'm like, you too, Sarah. But that was like such a sweet moment there in the race. And for her just to take that little time to wish me good luck on that race, and then finding out afterwards it was such like an amazing, beautiful day for her also. That was a really cool moment.
Yeah, because we've seen you at the Marathon Project, you know, waving and smiling, and photos from the Chicago Marathon. I think you were telling Carrie Vernon, I guess, like how to fold the cups and like joking around. Was this one, I think, a little bit different, where it was just maybe all business and like you don't want to exert any energy, or did you also find little tiny moments to have fun with it?
Yeah, I find when I'm all business, I go a little crazy. So I feel like I was trying to have like fun with it and just like keep it like relaxed. And like, and actually, so on the starting line, I wore like my heavy jacket, and my
Mm-hmm.
agent, Ray Flynn, was like, okay, just wear your jacket, and then I'll be there to grab it right before it starts. So there's like a couple minutes, like, you know, a couple minutes till the start, and I didn't see him. So I took off the jacket and I just threw it, and I nailed Des Linden. And she was like really smooth about it, just caught it with one hand. And I'm like, oh my God, I just like nailed Des. And now I was feeling all like, oh my God, I can't believe I just hit like the queen of marathoning, like with my jacket. But she seemed pretty cool about it. And she had like just a heck of a catch. That is one athlete right there. But
So if we looked at your splits from Strava, fairly consistent, I would say, all throughout. Was there just sort of, but early on, like you were well under sort of the record pace. Was there something that you just sort of like locked into, like in terms of just calculating, here's where I need to be? Did you have anything written down on your arm or anything?
I didn't have anything written down. We just thought like 5:18s or bust, you know, just if we can run 5:18s, that gives us a little bit of like a wiggle room and a little bit of a cushion. And so that was the goal. And it's funny because at the Marathon Project, that was like a magical race for me. Like I went out, I felt relaxed, I locked in. It felt like it was just a race where just everything, just I felt like I was floating. I don't know. It was just one of the most magical races I've ever had. And I was really hoping it was going to feel like that. And like within a mile or two, I'm like, this is not going to be that magical floating race. Like I'm going to have to grind this out. And like, so I just tried. Wasn't looking at my watch because I wasn't feeling super awesome. So I didn't even want to know what mile I was at. I was just focusing on like the water stops and when I could get my next like gel or my next drink, and like, and just locking onto the pacers. And I'm just so thankful that they did all their homework and they knew the splits like the back of their hand. They knew the 1,000 splits, I think we're supposed to be right at like 3:18, and the mile splits, and they had it calculated every, you know, the 5 miles and 10 miles. So they did like a lot of homework and were taking the burden of all that mental energy for me because yeah, I was just working on just like hang on.
Yeah. So 10K to go is where, if we're just following in the splits that were being sent through the tracker, there was a slight sort of like blip where it was just sort of like, uh-oh, like now she's only like 2 seconds under the record pace. And there's like, oh, all right, well, in the end, like it'll still be a great run if she runs the second fastest time of all time. But then very quickly from then on, like you got right back onto the train. What exactly happened there with about 10K to go?
Oh man, a lot was happening. I think first off, it was really windy. So there was a point, I think from like 11 to 18 was just a headwind. So it was just windy and it was just a little bit more technical then, I think. But I was falling off the pacer. So at a couple points, I was like 1 or 2 steps behind. And I was thinking, oh man, like this isn't going to happen. And I never said it, but I was thinking, maybe I should just tell him to slow down. And maybe we just slow down for a little bit. But I knew like as soon as I said that, like that goal was over, So I didn't say it. And I just like tried to reconnect. And I just try to hang on for dear life. And I think they sensed it a little bit too, that I was like falling off and that I wasn't like feeling as smooth. But they stuck right on the pace. And I think like if Callum and CITIUS were racing me that day, I think that would have been the point, that if they would have put in a surge right there, they would have just broke me. And I don't think I would have gotten the American record, but I'm just so grateful that they were on my team and part of like my squad. And they saw that, so they helped me through and they were really encouraging. And for me too, like, I mean, that stretch I was getting pretty negative, but so like, you tell yourself anything just to keep going. And what I told myself was like, you know what, like, I want to get this record, once I get the record, I don't ever have to run again, so Keira, if you just stay on the pace and finish this marathon, you never have to do this again, And then I was thinking, well, maybe today's not my day. And I'm like, but if today's not the day, then I'm going to have to do this again. I'm going to have to go out like this and feel this awful and figure out how to push through this. So I'm like, just get it done today, you know? So it's just a crazy mental game during the race. But the last 10K, we thought we'd have the wind at our back. So the whole time I'm like, if I can make it to like 18, we turn that corner, hopefully we're going to tailwind. We didn't get a tailwind, but it was okay because it was like enough of like a mental thing. And I was that close by that I was like, I can do this for another 30 minutes. I can hang on. So yeah, man, that was tough.
I want to come back to the closing miles in a sec, but what you just said, like about never having to do this again, please don't tell us that that's how you're feeling about marathoning. Like you'll run another marathon at some point.
I definitely will. And I also know, like, doing that, I just kind of like I tweeted about, I know there's so many like women or girls watching that, they're like, I can do that. And I really believe that other women can. So I know I'm going to have to like beat my own American record and keep pushing that down faster than people can like catch it, or else it's not going to be my American record for very long.
Yeah. So then at one point, it's, I think, 2K to go. You're now on your own. Was there just talk with you and the Pacers about like, did they say like, go get him, this is all you, or what happened there?
So it's really funny because Silas France and he used to live in Virginia and we used to work out together. And he was like just the most awesome workout partner. And he is super speedy. This is his first marathon he's ever done. And the fact
Wow.
that he ran that is just incredible. But I know how fit he is and how strong he is. So I just knew that pace was in his wheelhouse. But before every workout we do, I'd come up to him and he's so quick. I'm like, Silas, today's the day that I'm going to run you into the ground. Today is the day that I outkick you. And I never, ever, ever did. And we've probably done 50 to 100 workouts together at some point. And I never did. But the day before the marathon, I'm like, Silas, you're in my territory now. Like, tomorrow is the day that I beat you. And I know how quick he is. So I even told, this is really funny because the day before the race, I was like, Silas, like, I know I can't outkick you in a marathon because you're going to find like you have so much more leg speed. I'm going to need to break you with like 5K to go. And, we're kind of just like bantering around. But then afterwards, he's like, you really did break me with 5K to go. But, for them, blocking the wind and setting the pace, they were doing so much more work than me. So I think if it really was like a head-to-head race with all three of us, I think they both would have beat me. But I was just lucky to be able to capitalize on that.
When was it that you knew you had a little bit of time to spare? You ended up breaking the record by like 24 seconds, I think it was. And so there's a little bit of wiggle room. Your watch, I guess, when you uploaded it to Strava, I think like had you a little bit faster. So I guess, can you take us through your internal thinking, in that last mile of like, I've got this?
I didn't feel like I had it. I had
Really?
no
Okay.
idea. Like with a mile to go, I looked at my watch and I think I saw 2:12. And like it's hard to do math when you're so tired. So I was like, so what does that mean? I think I can do this. I think I can do it, but I need to like keep going. And it's funny because my husband's been saying like when I get in really good shape, he calls me the buzzsaw. Because it's just like don't stand in my way. Keira's just coming through. So like in the last mile, I don't know what it was, but I was clinging to that. So I was physically saying out loud to myself, buzzsaw, buzzsaw, buzzsaw. And that was like just like keep going, keep hanging on. And like when you can't really see the finish line because there's a little turn with maybe like 100 to go or 75 meters to go. I have no idea. So I like kept looking for the banner. And luckily I knew I was going to be able to see it, but I was a little like, oh my gosh, please just make this soon because I don't know how much further I can go. And when you made that little turn and seeing the banner, that's when I was like, this is gonna happen for me today. And like I just couldn't even believe it. Like right before I did like some sort of finish line pose, like you see me just like covering my mouth because I was like, I can't believe it happened today. Like I truly believed at some point I'd be able to run that fast, but I had no idea if that day was going to be Sunday. And like that's when it just like all hit me. And it was just like confusion. Like I finished and I'm just like, what's going on? And then I saw my kids and that's when I just like totally lost it. Cause like they've been on this journey, this has been like for all of like the D'Amato family, like we've all really been working hard. We've all really sacrificed. Like everyone in my family has been working with me towards this goal. So just seeing them is when like I really lost it.
Mm-hmm. Your husband, whose birthday it is today, with probably his own athletic feat of strength by climbing 2 fences in order to get to you at the finish line.
Oh my God. I just hear like Keira or Buzzsaw, whatever he said. And this fence, like, it wasn't just a typical fence where you can like climb. It was like one that could impale you if you didn't like do it right. And I'm just watching him and I'm like, how is he doing that? And he climbed that one. And then there was like another fence that he had to like hurdle to get over. But yeah, I'm thinking like Anthony D'Amato, get him on like the high jump or the pole vault, or we got to get this man into like, maybe his strength is on the field for track and field.
Your kids and the posters, like who helped put those together? Is this just like a family thing that you guys all do, a couple nights before the race? I mean, it was one of the best parts of seeing the celebration afterwards.
Chris, it's so sweet you say that. I literally just got off the phone with my mom and she told me the story behind that. At like the last minute, she put this poster board and some markers in her bag and brought it. So like the day before the race, they were making signs. And then when they were waiting for me, they were both getting a little like, their brother and sister. So my mom still had the marker. So she was like, since they were getting a little like, I don't know, irritated is the right word. She sat them down. She's like, okay, let's finish coloring. We can add more to our posters. And they were mad at each other. So they started scribbling on each other's signs. Mom was like, oh no. So they had to flip over and make a new one on the back because they were both like scribbling on each other's signs. So yeah, that was like really special that my mom did that. And it was really cool that they were there with such cute signs. And I think also like the one that my son, like, you're number one in my heart, like that is so powerful that it's like, I could have won. I could have been dead last. It didn't matter what happened. Like that kid loves me, and that's just such a powerful, powerful thing.
You got to get those framed, I think. And in addition to the singlet and the bib and everything, I think you've got yourself a nice little collection there.
I think so. That's a great idea.
And then he stole the show in the post race interview by saying it's like, I guess it's like my mom is kind of famous and it's super cool to have a famous mom. I mean, going back to school, he's got quite the story to tell about his weekend.
I know, that's a cool story. But it's funny, like right before we got him on the bus today, like my husband and I were like, so kids, like we did something really cool as a family this weekend, but like we're not famous. Like stay humble, stay gracious. Like we're not better than just keep your head down. Like you can say thank you and be grateful, but like we're not famous. We're the D'Amato family, you know, and just like out there, like just doing whatever D'Amatos do.
So the day after, so yesterday you spent, I guess, traveling to get back. I mean, today, Tuesday, your husband's birthday, but in addition to that, back to work with real estate, or like take us through, I guess, like the life of the American record holder, sort of like back to reality.
Yeah, it's back to reality. I had a settlement on Friday that I was not there for. So my broker, who's also my mom, went, and so that, you know, that just closed out, which is really nice. And yeah, I just got to get back to it. I've kind of been trying to take a lighter load and been leaning on like some other agents to help me out, just leading in the last few weeks. So I think it's just going to be like just getting back into the swing of everything. I got a couple like new client requests this weekend, which I replied like, I'll contact you next week. You know, just give me a couple days. I'm out of town this weekend, but I will reach out to them this week and we'll get going.
So how did you guys end up celebrating on Sunday?
We went to, okay, my husband, he's not like, he's a good planner, but I don't know, this really surprised me. He did an awesome job. We went to this place like a block from the hotel, and we ate outside. There was live music, really good barbecue food, and just like surrounded with like family and close friends. It was really like perfect and special. And my coach was there. Both Pacers were there. Like my mom and dad and mother and father-in-law and stepdad were there. My kids were there, and a childhood, one of my best friends from high school, like one of my college teammates was there. Emily Durgan came by and said congratulations. And she's like, I feel like her and I are connected because she came and did that up dog 10-mile race with me, and her like, and she's just been like on a tear, and her race was incredible on Sunday. And so that was really fun to see her.
It's got to also be, I guess, a little bit interesting that now, if I kind of think of the last 2 years for you, like really your sort of rise to prominence within American distance running happened at a time where early on solo time trials, then, you know, the marathon project, which was very closed off to just coaches, athletes, and, you know, agents. And that was about it. Chicago, you weren't the top American there, still ran a really strong race. But this time around, like even sitting around outdoors at brunch, I'm assuming maybe a handful of fans came up to you. But this whole side of it too, that like you have to realize you've got thousands and thousands of fans out there now.
I can't wrap my head around that. It's funny, people on the street like, hey, Keira, can I get your picture? And I like turn around. I'm like, is there another person named Keira? That's funny. That's my name too. Like, I can't wrap my head around that part. And I'm so like grateful for that. Like, that's really, really special. Like, it's like really cool and such like a compliment, but like, I don't think that's ever going to feel like normal, you know, but cool, man. I love it. Like, and I love talking to people about running and about their journey too. So that's been a really like special bonus of this whole journey.
I know it feels so early to ask, but have you given thought to what's next after this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I want to make the world championship, this team. And unfortunately, they announced the marathon team the week before the race. So I was like, well, okay, I guess that's not it. But, you know, I still got a shot with like the 10K, possibly the 5K. I think I'm probably better suited for the 10K. So I'm going to take a little downtime, and then I'm going to ramp back up and see if I can be part of the world championship. I mean, to have it here on US soil is just really cool, and I really want to be part of that. So it's kind of like whatever I got to do to get like a singlet into that race, I'm ready to do, man.
And then beyond that, I mean, on national TV, you vocalized sort of 2024 Olympics are on your radar.
Yeah, of course. Like, I want to become an Olympian. It's a dream I think probably most athletes have dreamed about, you know, and it crosses over sports, it crosses over nationalities. It's just like such a special event that the world comes together just to celebrate sport. And I want to be part of that celebration, you know, like who knows if it's going to happen or if it's not, but you better believe I'm going to be putting everything on the line to try to get to Paris in 2024.
Awesome, Keira. Well, I'll let you get on with the rest of your day, catch up on emails. I think you should just like send some of the people just a link like, hey, here's what I was up to. Sorry, I couldn't get back to you sooner, and celebrate your husband's birthday. But as always, it is a pleasure catching up with you, and I'm looking forward to more down the road.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you. And yeah, rock and roll is here to stay.